Sapyanam. Welcome to session 11 of the Great Wheel. We've come to the great sign of Aquarius. Which, although light years away from ordinary humanity, in terms of the pure lessons which the sign, phase, and stage corresponds to, it is good for all practitioners to, at this time of the year, consider what some of the meanings are which are attached to this particular energy. The conventional and ordinary meanings attached with this particular sign are group consciousness, spiritual knowledge, detachment, bearing water, all of which have to do with balancement to some degree. This, because it is the time of Aquarius by virtue of the sun, implies that the Earth is temporarily, during this period, transiting the sign of Leo, the sign and energy of the South. This being so, this time of the year involves somewhat of a crisis for many individuals in terms of what they can give up of themselves in order to be more open to a greater flow of consciousness or another dimension of consciousness in progression towards group consciousness, which in itself is a progression towards universal, cosmic, or even transcendental consciousness. Whereas Leo teaches everyone to appropriately focus attention upon the activities of the personality and the self, Aquarius teaches to be free of that, to share, to identify with others in a group sense, in the spirit of oneness. Unity in realization, group awareness towards the ultimate of God realization. So when we come upon this time of the year, from approximately January 20th on to approximately February 20th, what can we give freely? What can be given freely? And whatever that is, depending on our awareness, in the form of service or a particular personal activity, giving love in our own subjective and personal ways, or just giving things away. Whatever that is, can be related to the purificational process that relates to the Aquarian vibration. Aquarius marks the time of transmission, the time of freeing up energy. Uranus, one of the rulers of the sign or vibration of Aquarius, is known to correspond to electrical current. Therefore, Aquarius is also known to be the sign of the distribution of energy. Therefore, the water bearer, the distributor of blessings, the distributor of knowledge, the distributor of enlightenment. Ultimately, Aquarius is a sign which best represents the conscious commitment and the state of illumination and the function of service typical of the Bodhisattva, or one whose mind is purified and whose heart is fused in purification with the mind, and whose work, as a result, is self-service to other beings. So the higher Aquarian is a Bodhisattva. Therefore, the lesson of this particular year for all participants is to move towards this realization, that this time marks a period of contemplation as well as observation upon this idea or practice of being the Bodhisattva, being the pre-Buddha. So in the annual scheme of things, this is the last chance to come up for air. This is the air sign before the dip into Pisces. For many, this is the last gap, or gas, and gas for air. This is the time to receive the knowledge and share it, to inhale it, to exhale it with others. This is a time to stand as free as possible, to recognize all the things that hinder, to throw them away, or to stand apart from them, and be free. Not be responsible, but free. Free to serve without self, free to give.
Love.
The ordinary Aquarian, who's conditioned by the lessons of the mutable cross, is a person identified with friends, very strongly identified with the karma of friends. And there is some degree of group awareness. There is association. level of conditioning leads to, after a certain degree of conflict has been experienced, an awakening through the experience of Pisces. Which in the beginning awakens the individual to moving in two directions at once. Confusion and wanting to get free of it. Which brings us to the fixed cross, where the actual side of Aquarius is, and where the lessons of that particular cross culminate in the higher dimensions of the Aquarian vibration, where there is the desire for desirelessness realized at the highest level of group service, or liberated group consciousness. Capricorn representing the high point of experiences on the wheel of life. Material, social, public, and professional security and attainment, and so on. Leads to Aquarius and the freedom of what one chooses to do with what they've attained, what has been accomplished. Capricorn is one of the signs of happiness, the ultimate sign of happiness being the ultimate of the earth signs. Leads to the choice in Aquarius to remain a social creature entrenched in karmatic patterns, or to surrender to the process of spiritual unfoldment. And transcend the opportunities that are originally set up and accomplished in and through the vibration of Capricorn. This time also in the precession of the equinoxes, since we have entered the cusp of the age of Aquarius, marks the time, since we are all as a planetary family experiencing the vibrations of Aquarius and circumstances as a race, a human race, which offer us a choice. To indulge in group relationships which are conflictive on all levels, personally, familially, socially, internationally, interplanetarily, intergalactically conflictive, or operate more from the vibration of the fixed cross in its higher sense and the true Aquarian impulse, which is to love. At this time, the Aquarian vibration, being that of the third decanate, is ruled by the planet Venus. So the vibrations of Venus and Uranus are blended, thereby creating a matrix of energy which those who have eyes to see has resulted in much of what is called the New Age consciousness. Providing many people with that opportunity and choice to move into relationships which are non-conflictive, to move into what may also be called brotherhood consciousness. Which is quite desperately needed at this time on the planet. This planet, which is presently an extremely high risk area to live upon. And here the esoteric lesson concerning this vibration, this time of the year. It's one of the unfoldment of consciousness in the spirit of group awareness. That is to say, progression through the awareness of the circle, the greater family circuit. And that oneness is larger and greater than the limited I. And the higher degree of truth is lived as a result. These things mark this time. These are things which should enter the consciousness every year at this particular time for deep consideration. And for the purpose of practice. Aquarius gives us the time frame to consider mastering freedom. To attain freedom or choice or freedom of choice is not to master freedom. And not everyone responds to the uranic vibrations that are typically associated with the sign of Aquarius. It of itself does not mark a time when everyone's creative levels are operating at the genius levels. Aquarius doesn't make you a genius. Okay? Unfoldment to that degree may. The Aquarian vibration implies group-oriented service, a group disposition, a suitability for group consciousness, adaptation through various levels of group experience. And the individual state of unfoldment or level of consciousness determines at what vertical or subjective level the individual may be operating at any rate close to the genius level or the selfless or the bodhisattvic level of consciousness or the spontaneous creative level. So the mastery of freedom is critically the case for those who have unfolded as disciples, those who have therefore mastered the disciplines, and who have arrived at a certain level of freedom. Which without mastery may be something less than freedom. For not only must freedom or the higher vibrations of Aquarius need to be earned, but that freedom needs to be mastered. Therefore, the ultimate practice of the true Aquarian is to be free. Not for the moment, but to practice being free all the time. Lastly, one needs to ask, during this time, to what degree can one benefit others, or is one, and in what ways is one benefiting others? How is one best serving others? And thereby putting into practice some of the fundamental activities of the Bodhisattva. Who, as we know, sacrifices its own ultimate realization, enlightenment, and liberation for the sake of others. And the true Aquarian is supposed to be free of enlightenment at the same time. The true Aquarian is supposed to be free of freedom at the same time, for the sake of others. The true Aquarian is free of being the true Aquarian. You know.